In this tutorial, we talk in more depth about some topics, and we start with the sound. The search for sound for every instrumentalist is comparable to the search for the Holy Grail. As art, by definition, is infinitely perfectible, so it will be our sound. This does not mean that we can't reach a certain degree of satisfaction, a research that will gradually improve during our path of instrumental and musical growth. The condition to make this happen is to try to imagine the sound we would like, the sound that responds to our instinctive need, that we may have inside or we may have gained thanks to the listening the other musicians, and why not, also from other instruments. Whatever this sound may be, we must immediately clarify that it will not suffice to merely blow and inspire in the harmonic holes. Play a single sound is only the first step of a long journey that will mature together with our artistic evolution. Let's start working. Come on. A useful exercise to acquire sensitivity and control of the breathing is to work on the dynamics on a single note. Matches without attack from the piano and crescendo steadily and gradually, and then decrescendo to the starting point. This will allow us to perceive with the simplicity and the effectiveness that the sound is not on-off, but something plastic and malleable. The dynamics we perform will be our first intervention to modify the sound, and in this case we will be doing it by varying its volume. For example, there are many components that characterize a sound and make it unique. From the greater or lesser pressure we exert on the wrists, the way we inspiring and aspiring, the mandibular opening, the position of the tongue to its internal, the position of the throat muscles, the position of the hands, the diaphragmatic support, etc., etc. We try not to lose and to explain and list some of them. Surely the hands are very important and we influence the sound in a decisive way, but in this video I would like to dedicate all my attention to the internal anatomy, so what is not visible, and we will treat the hands in a separate chapter. The oral cavity is delimited from the palate, from the oral floor, from the cheeks and from the lips. The entire cavity will contribute in an unequally decisive way to modify the characteristic of the sound due to the structure and positioning of the same. Small movement can cause perceptible change. For example, the opening of the jaw will increase the internal area of the mouth. The tongue, as a consequence, if kept in a resting position, when the mandible is more open, it will move further away from the upper palate. When doing this simple operation, we will notice an evident change of the sound. In fact, the tongue lowering due to the greater opening of the mouth won't compress the air flow that passes through our mouth between tongue and upper palate, whatever inspiring or aspiring. And by doing this, we will notice that the sound will be tend to be less bright, rounder. Listen. If we exaggerate closing the jaw and bringing the tongue to the upper palate, we will notice other change in addition to the sound. The note will tend to lower in pitch and then return to the natural frequency once we reopen the mandible again. Listen. This very characteristic effect of the harmonica and very exploited is the bending, which we will discuss separately in a dedicated chapter. Now we focus our attention on these changes in sonority, which we can cause by increasing or decreasing the area of the oral cavity by closing or opening the mandible. Sound very similar to what we get by opening the mouth more can be achieved by positioning the tongue to the bottom of the palate. We have seen how we can increase the distance between the tongue and the upper palate by opening the mouth more. In this case, we will only move the tongue toward the bottom of the mouth. The sound effect will be practically the same. Listen. I don't know, use this technique in general to modify the sound. I think it is more convenient to work on the mandibular opening, but it is a subjective choice since the effect is practically the same for both movements. They are not prejudicial to other technical aspects and can be used without compromise the setting of the other executive aspects. As in the case of the hands that we will treat separately, we will have to acquire a lot of flexibility in knowing these aspects and dominate them to instinctively implement this sound variation depending on our artistic need. We have to deciphering the physiological interaction with the sound that each of us can differently provoke and experiment according to individual characteristics. There is no sound, but there are sounds which we can consciously create, better generate, in their infinite range depending on the musical needs. Without such control and cognition, we do not generate a sound, but we expel it. As already mentioned, a same quantity of air with a little opening of mandibular determine a constriction and consequently an increase in the air pressure, or more precisely, the speed of the same. In physics, Venturi effect. The sound thus generated may seem more tense and metallic, and in fact it is. But if maintained over time, it could be stiff and harsh, not very harmonious and not very flexible to the dynamics. There are other determining aspects than how we aspire and aspiring, and in next tutorial I will give you some indication for such a fundamental action to be full and effective. The internal physiology, based on the subjectivity of each one, but not being evident, makes such considerations complex. The search for sound for our sound will therefore be a compendium of many things. Here I wanted to list the main one, and we will be according to our criteria and artistic needs that we will have to strive to create harmonious harmony. To do this, we must imagine a result, conceive a sound, a legato, a vibrato, a musical idea, etc. Bear in mind that the expressive needs pass through our body and to an action linked to it. The harmony, the fusion and the success of these gestures is achieved through the intimate knowledge of our body, whether instinctive or acquired through study. We must therefore learn to feel and build this need, and we will have to pursue it as the climber who climbed the mountain and apply his instinctive knowledge in placing hands and feet, so as not to make mistake, and constantly raising his gaze to the summit to reach him the direction in which the stretch his effort. Think about it and go to your top.